I know you've seen them. The top 30 under 30, the world's 40 under 40. And it's always a list of these accomplished individuals who seem to have reached the pinnacle at such a young age, by the time they were 25, 30, 35, or 40. And those lists and so many other narratives in society make it seem like if you haven't done something significant with your life, if you haven't hit your stride, if you haven't fulfilled your dream, if you haven't changed the world, by the time you turn 40, then you have missed the boat, you can pack it up, you've squandered your opportunities and your youth. But that's not true. In fact, that is far from the truth. And too often we allow these artificial timelines to make us feel like the things that we want to accomplish and the milestones we want to reach are beyond our scope. But in this video, I'm going to show you just how good life can get and how dreams are very much in reach after you turn 40. Keep watching. Hi, I'm Dr. Shantae, and welcome to my YouTube channel. If you are new here, what I do over here is reframe cultural narratives from a trauma-informed and sociological perspective. And what I'm reframing today is this idea about it being too late for you. Once upon a time, 40 used to be considered the hill. And once you got over 40, you were over the hill. It was the beginning of the end. It was what Dion Cole calls having more yesterdays than tomorrows, right? And only having, another 20 or 30 summers left. And what that suggests is that once you hit 40, you begin to decline, that you begin to diminish, that you begin to wither. And that is so far from the truth. In fact, over the weekend, which was my birthday weekend, so if you missed me on Sunday, I was celebrating my birthday. Over my birthday weekend, I shared some really exciting news. Take a look. Hold up, checking emails. So I just wrapped up filming a YouTube video, and I have been waiting to hear back from literary agents because I've sent out query letters about my book, and I have an agreement, y'all. I have an agreement in the mail. Hold on, let me open this up so I can see what it says. Oh my God. This has been a dream of mine for a really long time. For a really long time. And I don't know that I ever thought that I would get here. But every time I go into a bookstore, for years, I go in and I stand in front of the section where I know my book is going to live, and I take a picture as just like paying it forward, like manifestation, like I know my book is going to be on these shelves one day. And it is. It is. The agreement between Shantae Holly and the Bindery LLC as the Bindery Literary Agency. I have an agent. I'm about to sign on the dotted line, and I'm going to have an agent. I'm going to be published. I'm going to be a published author. Me. This is such a dream for me. And I don't cry. I don't. But it's a big deal. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. And you all are going to be on this journey with me through the ups, the downs, the writer's block, the road trips, the writer's rooms, all of it. Because this is your book. This is your book as much as it's my book. You all have been asking me for years, when is your book coming out? The ball is officially rolling. Watch this space. Now, let me tell you, I do not cry, but just the reality that in my late 40s, a dream that I've had for so long is actually going to be coming true it made a thug shed a tear. I can't even front. It really did. And I share that with you in part because, of course, I want you on this journey with me as I write this book and share this book and just do what I've been doing for so long, which is helping people see themselves in a different light, helping people believe bigger than their obstacles and overcome the narratives that make us think that it's too late, when in fact, we are just getting warmed up. So the first thing I want to say about this is that whole 25 under 25 and 30 under 30, 40 under 40, not everybody starts from the same launch pad. Okay, many of us did not have the resources, the financial support, the parental support, the family structures, the economic stability, the networking connections to accomplish big things and big dreams at a young age. In fact, many people were parents at a young age. And it's not that a child is a deal breaker, but a child is a pace setter, okay? It doesn't mean that your dreams are derailed, but they certainly can be deferred as the needs of the child take priority. And so if you are sitting here thinking like, oh, I missed my chance, or oh, I missed the boat, or oh, if only... No, okay, because not everybody is starting from the same starting line. Not everybody is able to access the full capacity of their potential at such a young age. And if you are, that's great. That's fantastic. But if you're not, it doesn't mean that you are behind. I have a tendency to believe that the things that you are supposed to accomplish in life don't have deadlines. They have due dates, meaning they are going to happen when they are supposed to happen. And it doesn't mean that it has to happen before you turn 40. The next point I want to make is that purpose does not have an expiration date. If you have a calling, if you have a dream, if you have a gnawing in your spirit, if you have an inclination to travel to a certain place or to help certain people or to accomplish a certain task or to create a certain level of meaning with your life, that does not evaporate at the stroke of midnight once you turn 40, 41, like Cinderella and the carriage. It doesn't happen like that. If you have something that you are meant to do, if you are called to do, that you are longing in your spirit to do, that doesn't just evaporate because you hit a certain age. In fact, I recently saw a woman on Threads recently getting divorced after 50 years of marriage and finally living her dream of going to Ireland to visit the land of her people after being stuck in a marriage where for decades she was with someone who never wanted to go anywhere, who didn't want to do anything. And so here she is at 70 with the wind at her back, with renewed energy, with light in her eyes, going to fulfill one of her life's dreams. And for those of you who are in your 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, it is not too late. If you have good health, okay, now let's caveat that, okay, because sometimes health is not what it is in our 20s. But truth be told, there are 20-year-olds struggling with health. So youth is not always a guarantee of good health either, but I digress. But yes, if you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s, and you still are in good health, it's not too late. It's not too late. So if you want to go back to school and finish a degree, do it. If you want to write a book, write it. If you want to travel the world, get that passport and travel. And here's the thing. This is why it's so key. And this is why I push people so much to just live their lives while they can and to embrace the decade that they're in and make the most of the time that they have in front of them, regardless of the age that you are, because something that makes me sad every single day, if I allow myself to think too long about it, it really gets me down, is the fact that my parents went their whole lives without ever having a passport. My mother went to the grave at 65, having never left this country, never got a passport. And so when she died, I told my dad, who was 7 years older than my mom, I said, look, Dad, you know, I be in these international streets. I said, so we're getting you a passport and, you know, you can come with me to some of these places. So we did. I took him to the post office, got his picture taken, got his passport application filed, the whole 9 yards. He got that passport and 2 weeks later, he couldn't walk. He has a condition, a diabetic neuropathy that for months made it difficult for him to walk. And now he can walk, but he can't walk unassisted. He has to have a walker or he has to have a cane. But the mobility to be able to just get up and navigate independently, he doesn't even drive himself around anymore because he can't, because his foot, you know how our feet point and flex? Well, his won't do that. Like his foot will not point enough to allow pressure on a gas pedal to be able to get around. And that haunts me. That really, really does. And it makes me think about all of the people who think, well, it's too late for me. People who are in good health that are like, well, it's too late for me. It's not. It's not. If you have the activity of your limbs, if you have the discretionary income or are able to save for something that you really want to do or someplace that you really want to go, and you're thinking, well, maybe I should have done that 20 years ago. No. Okay. If it is still in your heart and you are still in good health, the time is now. And the last point I want to make about this, and I've said this before on previous videos, different is not less. Later does not mean less, okay? Because there are people who ran and did things in their 20s that they regretted in their 40s, that in their 40s they had wisdom, they had experience, they had a different set of resources, they had a depth of perspective that was not available to them at 20, that was not available to them at 30. And now they look back at 40, at 50, at 60, like, if I had it to do over again, I wouldn't have done that. The book that I'm writing right now, that book could not be written in my 20s. That book was not, I did not have the depth of wisdom, experience, perspective, expertise, research. It just wasn't there. And so this is not to disparage in any way, shape, or form any of the young people. I love young people doing big things. I am rooting for you. I am cheering for your success. But a lot of times what we have in our youth is potential. Okay. And in your 40s, 50s, and 60s, you got proof. You got evidence. You have perspective. You have wisdom. You have some hindsight. Okay. You have an accumulation of choices, some that worked out well and some not so well. You also tend to be in a better financial position to fund some of these dreams than you might be in your early 20s and 30s when you're just starting out. Because in these economic times, and I don't know where you're watching this from, but in these yet to be United States, when I was in my 20s, I bought my first townhouse when I was 26. I was 4 years out of college and I got my first big girl apartment. And then I went from my first big girl apartment into home ownership at 26 years old. And I was only making at that time, maybe $45,000 in the suburbs of Chicago. I cannot imagine a 20-something-year-old being able to do that now, economically being able to do that. And so sometimes even if the age is the same, the money is not the same, because what a $50,000 salary could do for you back in my 20s versus what a $50,000 salary can do for you today in this economy. Have you looked at these gas prices? It's night and day. And so usually in your 40s, 50s, 60s, you tend to be in a place where you have either raised your kids, if you had kids, or you are on your way to being an empty nester, that car notes tend to be paid off, that credit card debt tends to be minimal. You either own your home or you are living or you have a standard of living that is well within your means. And so now you finally have the space financially, and you finally have the time in terms of chronologically, because you're not having to do play dates and after school pickups and rehearsals and things like that for your children. So now you have the space, the time, the income, the savings to be able to fund things and do things that were not available to you back in your 20s and 30s. And so just because it's happening later in life Doesn't mean that it's a less experience. It doesn't mean that it's less significant. It doesn't mean that it's less noteworthy. It doesn't mean that it's less in any way. So what's important is not when it happens. What's important is that it happens. And if it happens at 45, 55, 65, the fact that it happens at all is still an accomplishment that is worth celebrating. Something that I truly believe is trusting the timing of your life. When I look back at the decisions that I made in my 20s, the life that I have now would not have been possible with that mindset. I was a hot mess. I was unhealed. I was unpolished. I was, oh, child. And if I had gotten all that I have now at that age, I would have blown it. I would have screwed it up, and I would not have been a good steward of the gifts that I have. And so I had to learn to become a good steward. I had to heal some things. I had to get out of some relationships. I had to set some boundaries. I had to go to some therapy. I had to get some experience. I had to pay some dues. And now I can show up here as I am with the gifts that I have and pour from a place of wisdom, of abundance, of experience, of being grounded, of being a listener, okay, of being someone who practices what they preach and walks the talk. That was not me in my 20s. It wasn't. I was talented. I was bright. I was a go-getter. And I did a lot of great things. But in terms of having this platform and this responsibility and this stewardship over people that listen to me and watch me, absolutely not. And so I have learned to trust the timing of my life. Like I said, it's not about deadlines. It's about due dates. And so I truly believe that things that are meant for you, they're not going to miss you. Okay. Like they're still there. They're still available. But the key is you still have to be in pursuit of them. And so if you have buried your dream in the back of the closet, if you wanted to be a seamstress, if you wanted to design clothes, if you wanted to go to Paris, if you wanted to go to New Zealand, if you wanted to go to the Super Bowl, child, like it's not too late for you to have that dream. It's not too late for you to access that. It's not too late for you to be in pursuit of it. It's not too late for you to go after it. And so you may not be the 30 under 30, you might not be the 40 under 40, but what you can be is in pursuit of your purpose, in pursuit of your passion, in possession of your dream well into your 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond. And so, as always, if you have any questions, comments, takeaways, you can drop them down below. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, I encourage you to do so. But more than that, I encourage you to go full tilt, full throttle in pursuit of your dream, because I am not just talking about it. I am living it. I am bringing you all along for the ride. When this book finally hits the shelves, you will be holding my dream in your hands. It is the physical proof that it's not too late, that as long as you are willing and as long as you are able, that your dream is still available. I will see you guys next time.